Welcome to the blanket fort. So it opens in Britain. Once upon a time, there was this old king, and he had 3 daughters. Can you see it, huh? Stop. Can you guys see it back there? Scooch into the center so you can see. He had 3 daughters. Their names were Goneril, Regan, and Cordelia. Now Lear was getting kind of old, and so he decided, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to retire and divide the kingdom into 3. But he tells his daughters, whoever proves that they love me the bestest will get the largest portion of the land and the most dollars. So Goneril and Regan, the oldest and middle child, spend a ton of time telling him, we love you best and most, no man could ever replace you in our lives, blah, 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 and flatter him for forever. Then when he asks Cordelia, how much do you love me? Cordelia says, I love you exactly as much as a daughter should, and if they really loved you that much, they wouldn't be married now, would they? Oh, Lear doesn't like her very much. He gets pretty mad that she doesn't make a big deal about how much she loves him. So he banishes her. And there's a little, an earl in the, or duke, anyways, Kent, he's one of his service bondsman people, says, I don't think that's fair to banish her, and so Lear says, well, you're banished too! At the same time, the King of France is coming, along with a couple of other people to try and woo Cordelia, who's just lost her title, and the King of France says, that's okay, I'll marry you anyway, you seem pretty neat. Now, at the same time, you've got Gloucester, who's an earl in the court, and he has 2 sons, Edgar and Edmund. Edgar is his legitimate son. Edmund is the result of an affair that he had. So you've got the good kid and then the bastard son. Edmund is evil and decides to fool his father into thinking that Edgar is trying to kill him. So he goes to him and hands him this letter that says, Edgar, was you dead? Now, Cordelia is off in France. She swears she's going to do whatever she can to use the forces of France to help out Britain because she sees that something bad's going to happen. And Lear decides he's going to spend the first part of his retirement with his daughter Goneril. So he goes to her, and Goneril's already told everybody, treat him like garbage, he's not the king anymore, I'm in charge. So everyone's horrible to him, and he's got this, like, retinue of 100 servants that he's managed to keep, and that's all he wanted. But the 2 sisters decide they're gonna not allow him to keep anybody, so they have this whole scene where they go back and forth about, you can only have 100 servants at my house, well you can have 75 at mine. So the 2 of them effectively emasculate him through this conversation because by the end of it, they've made him crazy and they've said, you can't have any servants, you can come stay in my house if you want, but they're not gonna treat you very well. So Lear, upset by the way his daughters have treated him and upset about the way things are turning out, runs outside, runs away from his daughters, and Kent, disguised as a man named Caius and a fool that's entered Lear's service, run outside into this enormous storm that's brewing. And that says this here because they run out into the storm in the middle of all the craziness, and the daughters really don't care. So now you've got Edgar, who's on the lam from his brother and his father because his father thinks he's trying to kill him, is out, and he's rubbed himself with mud and is wandering around naked, calling himself someone called Old Tom. It's pretty strange. And Lear and his little buddies, Kent/Caius and the Fool, run into him, and Edgar says, I'm Old Tom, murmur, 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 and makes up a big long story about why he's out there. Lear sympathizes with him and he's like, hey, my family's crazy too. So he tears off all his clothes and starts wandering around in the middle of the storm. Anyways, so over here, you've also got Cordelia is coming with the forces of France to try and defeat her evil sisters / Edmund's evil plan. Now, Gloucester, who is trying to help Lear, is taken hostage, and Cornwall, Regan's husband, gouges out his eyes as punishment for helping Lear. No more eyes. And a couple of Gloucester's miscellaneous servants, who don't really matter, come up and say, how dare you! And they wound Cornwall, which, as it turns out, is going to end up costing Cornwall's life. Meanwhile, Goneril and Regan are fighting over who gets to have Edmund, even though they're both married. And Albany, Goneril's husband, tells them that he disagrees with the way they've treated Lear. He says it's just wrong. So here's Cordelia coming with the forces of France, and she comes out and sees that her father, who is sitting here naked, you know, as the day he was born, with crazy old Thomas smeared with mud, and the Fool, and Kent Caius. She runs into them, and he's running around being mad, and she says, he's crazy, is that gonna change, or is he crazy for forever? And the doctor she talks to says, well, if he just gets some sleep. So she swears she's gonna help him out. Now, Edgar kills a messenger, Edgar Old Tom, kills a messenger who's running around, and he intercepts a letter from Goneril to Edmund asking him to kill her husband, Albany. So then he goes to Albany in the court and hands him the letter and says, "Hey, I found this. Your wife wants you dead. Now, I don't know what you want to do with this, but tomorrow this big battle is supposed to happen between the French and the British. We're fighting for the kingdom. And if you blast the trumpet 3 times, I can show up and be your super champion." So Albany's like, "Okay, I'll keep that in mind. Thanks." Edmund, meanwhile, is beginning to wonder if the fact that he's been playing both Goneril and Regan for fools is going to catch up with him. Cornwall's died, so Regan's free, but Goneril's not, and they're both still saying, "He's mine, I'm going to marry him, because Goneril thinks that Albany's going to be dead soon anyways, and so he's beginning to wonder if that could possibly catch up with him and cost him something in the end. We'll see. So, the big battle happens, the French versus the British, and in the midst of all the helter-skelter, King Lear and Cordelia are taken prisoner, and Edmund orders for Cordelia to be. So the next day, well, no, still the same day, Albany sure enough calls for the 3 trumpet blasts, and Edgar enters as the super champion, and he tells Albany what's going on. Albany reveals that he knows everything, so Goneril, who has just happened to poison her sister, also kills herself because she knows the jig is up, and Edgar manages, well, he's already told his father the truth, so his father has died because he realized that Edgar is still alive from grief and joy, presumably off stage. And they wound Edmund, and somehow Edmund decides that he's going to be converted and wants to do one good deed before he goes, so he asks for Cordelia's hanging to be stopped, but Lear's already coming carrying her body. Lear dies out of grief. Pretty much everyone is dead except for Edgar, Kent Caius, who's revealed himself, and Albany asks both of them to help him rule, and Kent says, "I'm old, so no," but Edgar says, "Well, okay, I am the super champion." And that's the end.
Huzzah!